Hello and welcome to Wednesday's programme.
Your headlines tonight.
I'm arrested on suspicion of murder. OK, if you do not...
Locked up for life, serial killer James Desborough is sentenced for murdering two men he met through a homeless shelter in Newquay.
You killed each of them because they were vulnerable, homeless and physically slight individuals who you considered would not necessarily be missed given their chaotic personal lives.
Tonight, police say they're reviewing the deaths of 4 other people who lived in the same homeless shelter.
We'll hear from the family of one of the victims, Daniel Coleman, who say they don't want him to be defined by how he died.
Also on the programme, we're at the Yealmpton show where everyone's dressed to impress despite the hot weather.
And I'm on Lundy, looking at the very healthy population of Manx shearwaters. Look at this fluffy chick.
Good evening. First tonight, 2 whole life sentences. A judge ruled today that Cornwall serial killer James Desborough will never be released from prison.
After hearing heartbreaking testimony from the families of Daniel Coleman and Claudio Aquilino, the judge in his trial at Winchester Crown Court told Desborough today that a whole life order is a sentence of last resort, reserved for cases in which the seriousness of the offending is exceptionally high, and his crimes met that threshold.
Well, our reporter Jackie Bird has been covering the case for the past six weeks, and we can join her now at Winchester Crown Court. Jackie, there's been some astonishing and quite disturbing details coming out of that court. What was it like in there today as the judge delivered those sentences?
My goodness me, it was so emotional. The families of both Daniel Coleman and Claudio Aquilino were in court to hear that the man who took the lives of their loved ones will never be released from prison. Daniel Coleman's family sat in the main body of the court, facing James Desborough as he sat mostly with his head down throughout proceedings. The judge outlined the horrific nature of his crimes in Sticker last year, and also the brutal murder of Stephen Kempster, his cellmate, who he met while he was on remand in Exeter Prison while he was waiting trial for this case. Now, Desborough's callous disregard for human life was clearly at the forefront of the judge's mind.
I also find that you killed each of them because they were vulnerable, homeless and physically slight individuals who you considered would not necessarily be missed given their chaotic personal lives. As I've already said, I also find that you did not consider them, given their personal lives, to be worthy of respect as humans. At trial, you falsely claimed that Claudio had taken his own life and had been found hanging on a tree by you and Daniel Coleman, and that it was Daniel's idea to dismember and destroy Claudio's body. That was disgraceful. Although this false narrative does not increase your sentence, it does demonstrate the type of man you are and the depths to which you went to avoid responsibility. It was a convenient device to blame your next murder victim, Daniel, for what you alone did to Claudio's body.
Jackie, both Daniel and Claudio's families were in court today for the sentencing, weren't they?
Yes, they were, and we heard some absolutely heartbreaking testimony from both families, in particular from the teenage daughter of Daniel Coleman, who told James Desborough that he had robbed her father of ever seeing her get married and walk her down the aisle. She said that she dreamt about his cries for help. We also heard from Daniel Coleman's mother, who said to James Desborough that she too had stood on the spot where he had stood, where he had callously discarded the remains of her firstborn son. Now, of course, this all began with a missing persons inquiry, a hunt for Daniel Coleman after James Desborough was seen on CCTV using his bank card. For the first time today, we've seen the video footage of his first arrest at the woods in Sticker, where he lived.
James, just listen to me for the minute, mate. All right. So the time is 18:06, and you're under arrest on suspicion of fraud at the minute. Okay. Right. Obviously, that's on suspicion of. All right. So you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention one question, something which you later on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
You right?
Yeah.
Do you reckon I can get some clothes? Because I've got no boxer shorts on.
Yeah, of course. James, I'm just going to double lock your cuffs, mate. Okay, so they're not going to get any tighter, but obviously if you resist against them, it will cause you some discomfort. Okay.
Jackie, you mentioned it's been a difficult time for the families of the victims, and you've been speaking to Daniel Coleman's family, haven't you? What have they had to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel's brother Tony has sat through every day of this nearly 6-week trial, and he has heard some truly awful evidence about just what happened to his brother and to Claudio Aquilino. But it's very important for Daniel's family, for the whole world to know that that is not what defines Daniel.
Can I just have one more dance with you, my love? Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Well,
The voice of Daniel Coleman that was played at his funeral just a week before this trial started. His family say his beautiful voice is one of many things they remember so fondly about him.
It was only fitting, it was played in the middle, so everyone had the reflection time. So that was really, really nice. Very, very heartbreaking, but very nice.
Yeah, not a dry eye in it.
No.
But it was nice to be able to hear his voice that last time, you know,
And
it's nice to have
everybody
it on
was
my phone
together.
so I can listen to it whenever I want. Dan was one of the kindest people you'd know. You know, he would give you the shirt off his back, he'd give you the last penny in his wallet. He was kind, caring, loving, funny. And on top of that, he was an amazing singer, he was an amazing cook, an amazing father, and an amazing brother. Wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he really was. I knew Dan when he was about 23, that's when I met him, around about that time. He was young, handsome, hard-working. Yeah, and he was just a really nice guy. He had his faults like everybody, but other than that, he was good.
Much has been made in this trial about Dan's alcohol problems, the fact he was homeless. But his family say those things do not define him. They want the world to know what sort of a man he really was.
Very tough life, you know, and a lot of what came out in court was true about him being kidnapped at a young age and badly beaten up, having to escape from a balcony. He struggled a lot with mental health and alcohol addiction. He was never a drug addict, never ever a drug addict. But through all the adversities he had in life, he shone through. You know, he always sought help when he was feeling down, you know, and got the right help he needed. He managed to battle alcohol and get clean a few times. Unfortunately, he drifted back towards it. However, that didn't define who he was.
No.
You know, his character defined who he was, and the sort of person he was defined who he was. And that person was a caring, loving, good person, you know. He would never have hurt anybody. And if he came across anybody who was in a bad situation or hanging from a tree, he would have called help. He wouldn't have done anything untoward.
Yeah, and it was disgusting when hearing that, and we knew how untrue it was. We knew it was going to be printed, you know, and that actually devastated us. And I cried because I thought, I don't want it put out there that Dan was that sort of person, because he was not. You know, he didn't have a bone in his body that could have been like that. So I'm so glad that people have seen through all the lies, and yeah.
He was a lifesaver, not a life taker, you know.
Well, Jackie, the trial's now over, sentencing has taken place, but there is now speculation tonight that there may be further victims. What more do we know about that?
Yeah, that's right. James Desborough has gone away now to start his 2 full life sentences. He'll never be released from prison, but there are still question marks about whether there could be any more victims. We know that there are 4 unexplained deaths at Sandy Lodge Hotel, the place where he met Daniel Coleman and Claudio Aquilino. The police say they are continuing to investigate that, but at the moment they say that James Desborough is not a suspect.
Well, Jackie at Winchester Crown Court, thank you. Well, this case was described as one of the most challenging investigations ever mounted by Devon and Cornwall Police.
Senior officers have praised the families of the victims for the dignity they have maintained and the extraordinary effort of all those involved in the case, including experts from around the country. Let's talk to Richard Lawrence, who's live for us in Sticker this evening. Richard, I believe you've been speaking to the police. What have they had to say?
Yes, I mean, we're on the outskirts of the village here, but for 5 months, the outskirts, the neighbouring land here and the area about a mile away where Desborough lived was the focus of an intense and possibly one of the grimmest investigations that Devon and Cornwall police have ever carried out. They were looking for human remains and were often deploying diving teams, for example, that were up to their neck in mud. And one particular operation involved them actually taking the water out of a watercourse, a 300-yard long stretch, to sift through to look for tiny fragments of bone, an operation that involved something like 100 officers. And in total, they reckon they spent something like 96,000 hours just in those searches for fragments of human remains. Everyone now is relieved, of course, that justice has been served.
I think it's appalling. I think the murders are brutal. I think blaming Daniel for the desecration of Claudio is atrocious. He's sought to minimise his actions throughout. He hasn't answered what happened to Daniel and Claudio, and he's denied the families an opportunity to understand what happened to their loved ones and also to say goodbye. One of the areas we were absolutely key to focus on throughout the investigation was the possibility that other victims could come into the investigation. You know from the court trial that we did safe and well checks on all people that were linked to James Desborough, and sadly for Claudio, he was the only person we could not locate safe and well. At the moment, we're not looking for any outstanding missing people that we believe have come into contact with James Desborough.
Well, the police's thoughts are very much with the families of those victims. Yes, these people may have been on the fringes of society, but Claudio, for example, was in daily contact with his mother, and that perhaps helped spur the police along to carry out such an intensive search as they tried to discover what had happened and those grim details that we have learnt about over the last 48 hours as the trial came to an end. Of course, it also involved a whole range of experts from right across the country that were looking at other evidence too to ensure that this case was robust, and that involved the Crown Prosecution Service, who said it was one of their biggest ever investigations too.
In many ways, it would have been a lot easier just to accept the fact that regrettably these two people were buried on Desborough's land, but that wasn't the entire picture. It was clearly not the entire picture. And the thorough police investigation shown that he was responsible for these two people's deaths. So yes, prosecutions for murder were essential. It was a huge investigation. So many levels and detail of evidence from really unusual sources. Obviously, when one brings a prosecution for any offence, you need witnesses. In this particular case, we also needed archaeologists, botanists, insect experts, fire experts. Yes, it was an extremely complicated case.
And yes, as Jackie said earlier, other cases will also be reviewed as a result of this investigation to see if there are any parallels with any other missing persons inquiries in the Devon and Cornwall Police region.
OK, Richard, it's quite mind-boggling to think how big this investigation really was. Thank you very much. Richard Lawrence reporting from the outskirts of Sticker there. It's been quite the start to the programme, hasn't it? Well, the ITV News continues after us with the national and international stories at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, Andy Burnham pledges to end the care crisis and says for him it's personal. As temperatures spike once again, half of England is officially in drought. And with great power comes great responsibility. Rishi's on the red carpet for the latest Spider-Man premiere. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Well, you're watching ITV News in the West Country for now with Louisa and Seth.
Yes, thank you for joining us this Wednesday evening. Still ahead before 6:30. Marina's out and about, braving some rather warm conditions.
I certainly am, Louisa. Yes, I'm in Yealmpton and it's been the agricultural show here today. It's a loved show in the farming calendar. Join me a bit later in the programme to find out how the day went.
And a combination of prolonged heat and prolonged lack of rainfall is what's caused the Environment Agency to declare that drought across the West Country. More on that a little later on.
But first, wildlife experts are celebrating a major conservation success story on Lundy Island and the dramatic turnaround in wild seabird populations.
Just wait till you see it, because puffins had all but disappeared because rats were eating their eggs. In 2006, the rats were eradicated, and now, 20 years on, the birds are flourishing once more. From Lundy, Bob Cruz reports.
Lundy is a haven for seabirds. 10 miles offshore in the Bristol Channel, the island is home to more than 40,000 of them. But it hasn't always been like this. Puffins were on the brink of extinction here 20 years ago. But since the island was declared rat-free, they and other birds are now flourishing again because they're able to nest in their burrows on the ground undisturbed by opportunistic rodents.
So are there burrows all around us under our feet here as we walk around? Have we got to be careful where we walk?
We've got to be a bit careful.
This slope is home to hundreds of Manx shearwater pairs, which are off at sea feeding during the day. Their population on Lundy has gone from fewer than 600 to more than 25,000, all because they got rid of the rats.
The birds were naturally trying to come back to breed, but because of the rats, the eggs were getting eaten, the chicks were getting eaten, the adults were getting affected as a result. They would leave. It took a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years, but then the first chick started appearing, and now we are in the middle of an active Manx shearwater colony, which is incredible.
They have a few man-made nest box burrows, so they can monitor the chicks being reared.
Oh, look! My goodness. Do they mind being handled like this? Obviously you're used to doing this. You're doing this regularly, are you?
We tend to check the chicks every few days just to see how they're doing.
It looks very fluffy.
It's very fluffy, very soft, but at the same time he's got a long way to grow because he's still got quite a few wing feathers.
Oh, wow, look at that.
That's his first. These are the feathers that will take him all the way down to South America. So if you'd like to...
Oh, you can let me hold it?
Yeah.
Look. Well, never mind a cuddly toy. This must be the fluffiest thing I think I've ever touched. It's unbelievable. What a beautiful little creature. Shall we put him back?
20 years since the rats were eradicated, they're celebrating this as one of the UK's greatest conservation success stories.
The results have been beyond what we ever expected. We were hoping to see positive results, of course, because we knew we were removing a real threat to those birds. But the increase has been beyond what we expected. And for puffins as well, it's incredible. The birds had almost gone from the island. We were down to the last few individuals, and there's now well over 1,000. So it's really exciting.
The warden job here is quite intense, so it covers a lot of different things.
Lundy Warden Simon Parker says the wildlife is a large part of what brings tourists here and helps support the island. The puffins play a big role in that, but it isn't just them.
There's a whole host of different birds, the razorbills, guillemots, the Manx shearwaters, huge success and amazing birds. And all of that ties into the draw of the island. And this is their home as well, so they've been here a lot longer than people, so it's important to try and maintain their population and manage the interest in tourism as well and the education that comes with it as well.
The seabird population has rebounded at such an exceptional rate. There are other projects around the country now learning from what's been achieved here to help with their own conservation projects in future. Bob Cruz, ITV News, Lundy Island.
I am utterly in love with that place now.
Yeah, I really think I've never visited it before, but now I think I really, really want to. Yes. I can't get over how fluffy that chick was, and what a job to do that every couple of days. To have
I know. Although I've discovered you can't take dogs there, which are kind of my little dog's not going.
Probably for good reason. Now, it's not just baby seabirds being reared on Lundy. We're just entering the time for seal pups to be born. The island is home to a large population of seals, and Bob has also been out on the water with the wardens who monitor the seals and make sure they get the space they need, free from disturbance from humans. You can see that report on the programme next week.
Yes, looks very good.
Chicks, baby seals.
Now, wildlife of another kind, rural ones, because thousands of people attended the Yealmpton show in the South Hams today to enjoy celebration of rural life.
Yes, organisers say it was one of the best years for the show and one that they've had in decades. Well, Marina Jenkins spent the day there and is at the showground for us now. A pretty warm one, needless to say, Marina.
It has been, Louisa. It's been an absolutely glorious day. I have to say, though, the showground is nearly empty at the moment, but I've just spoken to an organiser who said that they've had one of their best years on record with more than 10,000 visitor numbers. And that showground behind me over there, well, that has been action-packed all day with horse shows and displays of vintage cars and falconry. However, the heat, whilst it has been lovely, it has posed some issues. Organisers telling me that because of animal welfare that they had to cancel some of their displays and shows. However, you can still see behind me in the distance many stalls, and that's because this year there was the most stalls that they've ever had. So plenty of things for people to enjoy and buy from. And I do know that the ice cream stand had a very long queue all day long. This is how the day unfolded.
It's a day that everyone here looks forward to.
Sort of a meet and greet day, really, just to see friends and chew the fat and drink coffee, bacon roll, ice cream.
And what is it that you like about this particular show?
Very friendly.
Friendly, yes, very
and a
friendly.
lot of stalls this year. We've sort of walked over to the other side and watched the gun dog display. That was good.
I really like walking around all of the stands and getting all the freebies.
The Yealmpton show is in its 137th year. It's a favourite in the farming calendar, but this year, due to the prolonged heat, it's meant some animals haven't been shown.
We've been super aware that animal welfare is absolutely at the top of our priority. We've had to make some changes to the schedule. We had to cancel the working hunter classes, which was such a shame. We know that's disappointing. The ground is too hard for show jumping. That's also disappointing. It's just been hard work adapting to the weather.
But it hasn't stopped the fun. It's been a packed day for thousands of people to enjoy the show.
Now, I do not know how you do that, but boy, I am impressed.
And every animal was judged with absolute precision. The competition was tight for the 10 breeds of sheep.
I've been showing sheep for years. I just enjoy it because when you go to a show that's really organised, it's such an enjoyable day. And that's what I try to supply for all the exhibitors that attend this show.
Away from the main ring, there was an opportunity to learn about traditional crafts. Jordan Harris is skilled in the Bronze Age technique of wood shaping.
This is a modern equivalent using bungees, but back in the day it would have been a branch of a tree or a pole. It is known as a pole lathe. It's kind of therapeutic, using your hands, using your mind.
And very kindly, Jordan let me have a go.
And then if you want to take that over.
Yeah.
And so just
you hold it steady like
that?
that?
Yeah. So, and just get the right angle. And,
oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go. And you're away, and that's it.
It is therapeutic,
oh, it's
you're
lovely.
right.
Yeah. It's a day that brings people together from across the southwest to Yealmpton, and one where the farming community is celebrated. Marina Jenkins, ITV News, Yealmpton.
That looks fun.
That looked like such a great day, from everything from sheep to Bronze Age wood. What did they say? Wood shaping?
Wood shaping,
yeah.
Yes. And eating an ice cream in 10 seconds before it melts.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Charlie. Do you know, Charlie, the show organisers must be pleased it's not raining, it's not washed out, but the drought that we're in now, no rain, it's just adding to the problems.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the grass around Marina's feet, was just absolutely parched, wasn't it? And this graph here gives you an idea of just how little rain we've seen. This shows rainfall throughout July. Now, we should be somewhere along this kind of gently rising thick line here. That's the average amount of rainfall. This orange one here is the wettest July, and this light blue one has been the driest. And we're sort of flatlining along that kind of line, if you like. We've seen precious little rain, we know that, and all this orange area here just hammers home that message. It's all been below that average line. And it's that combined with the prolonged heat that we've seen that's caused the Environment Agency to give drought status across much of England. And last year was similar too. A lot of heat waves and a lot of dry weather. So yeah, cause for concern, certainly.
Yeah, a huge area that's being taken over by the drought. Obviously incredibly warm as well. The heat wave coming to a bit of an end though.
Yeah, you're right. This one's been much shorter, but we have had day 3 today of those temperatures above 25, 26 Celsius. Not everywhere. This stripe of cloud across Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly meant temperatures here were nearer normal, around 22 degrees. But yeah, elsewhere in that strong July sunshine, widely up into the high 20s, if not knocking the door of 30 Celsius. And a good way to escape some of that has been to do a spot of forest bathing, really get out of that intense direct sunshine, maybe just dip your feet in the River Dart as well, just to keep yourself nice and cool. But you're right, the extreme heat or the prolonged heat is coming to an end with something a little more typical maybe for the next few days.
Midday Mayan temples, followed by sunny afternoons on the sand. TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
Although it might be a little warm as we head through tonight. Temperatures not dropping all that far, but yes, changes in temperatures from tomorrow. And also maybe, just maybe, the chance of seeing a little bit of wet weather if we are lucky, because we have a front working its way slowly across the UK. And that's going to bring a bit more cloud tonight, tomorrow, and a few bits of rain. But it doesn't last too long, as none of these weather systems seem to have done. In fact, high pressure builds back in again then as we work our way towards the weekend, and it might stay fairly dry into next week as well, if you can believe it. But for the rest of this evening, there's still some nice sunshine out there. Bits of cloud coming and going. They might produce the odd spot of rain as we head through the night time. Otherwise, underneath any cloudless skies, we'll have a bit of mist developing, and temperatures once again in our built-up areas in the mid-teens. But up front, or what's left of it, is just this stripe of cloud you can see here, this sort of shadowy area. That'll work its way through tomorrow morning, bringing perhaps a few more spots of rain to more of us. But that doesn't last long, and we have a return to bright skies as we head through the afternoon. With that, a bit more of a northwesterly breeze, and temperatures a lot lower, generally in the low 20s quite widely, maybe even only the high teens along the north coast of Cornwall, for example. High tide as we head through tomorrow. Portland there, 8:15 in the morning, and again around about 8:30 in the evening. And those low or normal temperatures stick around really as we work our way through towards the weekend, maybe lifting a little bit, so not returning to any great heat, but neither seeing any rainfall on the horizon either. So just the dry weather continuing. Great for beachgoers, as Simon saw this incredible drone shot looking back across to Perranporth, the expanse of sand, but yes, more blue sky.
TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
Charlie, thank you. That is a beautiful scene, isn't it, behind you? Wow.
Can't tell the difference between the sand and the grass. It's so yellow, yeah.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right, that's goodbye from the two of us. I'll have the late news for you at 10:30. Do join me if you can.
Yes, after the break, though, the ITV news continues. But for now, goodbye.